in case you have a horse, that's what you feed the horse. And Prabhupada was hungry one night, and they made some apple crumble, or whatever you call it in your country, with apple and oats. And Prabhupada like ate 1, 2, 3. Give me more. What do you call it here? Apple strudel? Or crumble. Give me some more of that crumble apple, whatever. Probably. And it had oats in it. So Prabhupada's replies to things will depend on what's fed to him. So what was, when you feed grapefruit without anything sweet, and it's not, grapefruit's are generally not sweet. I don't like grapefruit, don't give me grapefruit. Send that around the world until somebody puts some sugar and honey and whatever, and a cherry on it, and then, this is very good, I like grapefruit. So there was a contingent who felt that wearing Western dress was a compromise of our integrity, and it was we were reverting to our hippie style. We don't want to wear dhoti, we don't want to wear kurta or sari, we want to wear, t-shirt and jeans. And the worst thing is, we're attached to hair, so we're putting on wigs because we like hair. That was what was explained to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada had this fear that his disciples would again become hippies. He definitely had this fear, and it came up. Even when he would see someone who hadn't shaved their head in 3 weeks, he'd say, hippie seeds, why aren't you, brahmacharya, why is your head not shaved? Hippie seeds. That's what he would say. Again, you're becoming hippies. That painting, why do they have long hair? That's your hippie tendency. He always would, he had this thing like hippie samskars, again, are sprouting. It came up now. So that's how it was explained to him. The Prabhupada said, no, you're again becoming hippies, right? So this is going back and forth, this discussion. And finally, the head of the BBT, he said, Prabhupada, they're dressing like ladies and gentlemen. The wigs are short hair, they're not long hair, they're not becoming hippies. He said, they're not doing this because they want to dress this way. They're doing this because it increases book distribution. But if you don't want us to distribute books, if you don't want us to dress this way, we will dress the other way. We're not attached. But I just want you to know, if we dress this way, if we're not allowed to dress this way, my estimation is that book distribution will decrease by 50%. Prabhupada didn't skip a beat. He said, therefore, dress this way. That was, problem was solved, right? Prabhupada's flexibility, right? Yeah, I'm not attached to the dhoti and the tilak and the kurta. We're attached to the mission of Bhaktisiddhanta, which is to distribute books. So that solved the whole dilemma, because it was going back and forth. And Prabhupada at one point said, no Western dress. And everybody said, okay. But it'll increase 50%. Yes?
Not to correct you, but later he said also, you can do either way.
Yeah, that's the second part of the story.
Sorry.
Okay. Which I was personally involved in. Now, because I'm a pure devotee, only kidding, because I'm a purist, and in 1973, a pure fanatic, and think I'm smarter and better than everyone, having been raised Jewish, that is a tendency. So, and I was associating with other Jewish devotees, so that tendency was increasing by association. We decided that this whole plainclothes things was an illusion. They were under the impression they needed that to distribute more books. It was like a false belief. And we were going to dispel that false belief by wearing dhotis and saris. Well, I didn't wear a sari, but the women wore saris. Yeah. So, 1973 Christmas Marathon, we were out on a mission to prove ISKCON is wrong, that it's compromised, and that you can wear dhoti, kurta, sari, choli, and you can distribute just as many books. And we did it. And we were so proud. We wrote Prabhupada a letter with the news. And the undertone of the letter was, and we didn't say this, everyone's in Maya except us, because we were the ones who were pure enough to do it, and we always knew the Western dress was wrong. And you are now going to be so proud of us, and you are going to issue a letter to the whole movement saying, Mahatma Das, Bir Krishna, Nrsimha Chaitanya, Shonapuri, this one, that one, have discovered that this whole Western dress is useless concoction. It's just in your head. You don't need to do it. they are doing just as well in dhotis, kurtas, and saris. He didn't say that. He basically said what Gadagraj said. Prabhupada smashed us. In such a polite way, it was hilarious. Prabhupada said, if you feel more comfortable in a dhoti or a sari, you can wear that. Which normally you would say, if you feel more comfortable in suit and pants, wouldn't it be? But Prabhupada, can I wear Western dress? If you feel more comfortable, you can. And if you feel more comfortable in a dhoti and sari, we're waiting for this glorious letter. You've discovered there was a contamination in our movement. You've purified ISKCON. If you feel more comfortable in a dhoti and sari, you can wear that. They're completely detached, not on a mission. Right? Yes? Now there's another story. It's also interesting. About Prabhupada's flexibility and attachment to principle. One attachment to principle Prabhupada had was he would do anything to avoid factions in ISKCON. It was very important because his spiritual master's movement had divided, and wherever there was division, Prabhupada would always patch it together. So there was a division in our movement in 1976, and it was brahmacharis against grihastas and traveling brahmacharis against temple brahmacharis, in the sense that if you're a temple brahmachari, you should travel with us. Because if you remain in the temple, you'll get married. And what could be worse than getting married? So you have to get out before it's too late, because once you get married, your life is over. And no one ever gets out of the dark well. So that was the preaching. And the bus would come up to the temple, to inspire the temple. And a few days later, when it left, where are all the brahmacharis? It was like, a lot of vacancies in the brahmachari ashram now. And so this became an epidemic problem, and it came all the way to Prabhupada. And what is so interesting about this story is that the head of that party, well, what's interesting about this story is that party was the biggest book distribution party in ISKCON. Nobody could compete with them. They had 6 buses, 20 vans, all brahmacharis, Radha Damodar party. And they were unstoppable, unbeatable, and it was just an amazing party. And they were making devotees also. They were stealing devotees, but they were also making devotees. And it became such a problem that it hit volcanic eruptions in Mayapur, and the temple presidents just protested. And so Prabhupada told the head of that party, that's it, I'm taking you out of your position because you're creating such a problem. And he told Prabhupada, he said, if you take me out of this position, the whole party will fall apart. And we all know how important book distribution is to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, I don't care. Because the principle of keeping the unity in Prabhupada's mind was even more important than book distribution. And that party fell apart within a year or so, within a year or two, and it never recuperated. And Prabhupada didn't care, because he wanted to maintain that principle. So I think that's such an interesting story. Because the leader of that party told Prabhupada directly, this party will fall apart. I don't care. You're out. Interesting, right? So now it's time to end class, right? Or do we get a grace period because we start late, or what? 9 o'clock. Okay. Should we finish the verses? Okay, that would be a good idea. Okay. Can we not chant this verse to save time? Is that okay? Yeah, okay. So, Katadina prabhuchite korila chitan grihashtaha ilam bhebe chahi grihadharm. After some days, the Lord thought, I did not take sannyas, and since I am remaining at home, it is my duty to act as a grihasta. Grihine vina grihadharma nahoy shubhan iti chinti vivaha korite hoilaman. Without a wife, Lord Chaitanya considered, there's no meaning to householder life. Thus the Lord decided to marry. Na griham griham ityaho grihine griha uchate tayahi sahita sarvam purushartam samashnute. Merely a house is not a home, for it is a wife who gives a home its meaning. If one lives at home with his wife, together they can fulfill all the interests of human life. Daiva ekadina prabhu pade asite valava acharyara kanya neki gangapate. One day when the Lord was coming back from school, he accidentally saw the daughter of Vallabha Acharya on the way to the Ganges. Accidentally? Does that happen in Leela? Not really. Purva siddha bhava dukara udaya korila daiva vanamali gataka sachistana oila. When the Lord and Lakshmi Devi met, their relationship awakened, having already been settled. In other words, they were already eternal associates. And coincidentally, another accident happened. The marriage maker, Vanamali, came to see Sachimata. So, accidentally Lord Chaitanya met Lakshmi Devi, and accidentally, that day or the next day, Vanamali shows up at Sachimata's house. He's a marriage maker. And you will find out in the purport who Vanamali is, which will make you realize it wasn't an accident. Vanamali Gataka, a resident of Navadvip and a Brahmin by caste, arranged the marriage of the Lord to Lakshmi Devi. He was formerly Vishramrita, who negotiated the marriage of Lord Ramchandra, and later was the Brahmana who negotiated the marriage of Lord Krishna with Rukmini. That same Brahmana acted as the marriage maker of the Lord in Chaitanya Leela. Chaitanya Leela ki jai. So as you know, if you could make it into Chaitanya Leela, you're quite fortunate because you get special blessings and benedictions. So you'll find in Chaitanya Leela, sometimes many devotees will come, like Brahma came to Thakur Haridas, and Brahma wanted, mercy. So Lord Chaitanya said, okay, you'll come as Thakur Haridas and you'll get mercy. So everybody gets special mercy in Chaitanya Leela. And we were once having a discussion with some very senior devotees, and the question was, if in Kali Yuga people are most fallen, why did Lord Chaitanya choose to give something higher than he gave at any time? And then the Goswamis come, who are Manjaris, gopis, and they write books about Manjari Bhav and Gopi Bhav and all this esoteric stuff. It seems like, wouldn't that have been better in Sat Yuga, where people actually have brains that work and hearts that are pure? And now you're giving it to people with impure hearts whose brains are, not firing on all cylinders. Isn't it? I mean, you probably all considered the question, right? Why? Why would he do that? It doesn't make any sense. So some senior devotees, the answer they gave is, if Lord Chaitanya wants to do that, then that's what he does. That's his will, his free will, and that's what he decided to do. And then, another answer that was given, he said, well, when a wealthy man gives charity, how much does he give? 20 pounds or 2 million pounds? So if Krishna decides to give charity, and he gives according to his position, so he's very wealthy, so he's giving a lot of charity. So this Chaitanya Leela, we're so fortunate because we're given something we don't deserve. And one time in a lecture, Prabhupada said, what was going on, there was a lot of strife in the temple, and people were starting to leave. They weren't getting along. So Prabhupada said, don't ever leave. He said, because before you became a devotee, you were all rogues and demons. And he said, and now you've been elevated to the highest position. And if you leave, again, you'll become rogues and demons. Isn't that interesting? In that same lecture, Prabhupada said, this movement will spread with you or without you. But if you stay, the Lord will use you and you will get the credit. So this is Mahaprabhu's mercy, that if we're willing to be used, we'll get credit. And many times, we've been discussing in Japa workshops, many times Prabhupada had said, 16 rounds, 4 regular principles, 1 life, back to Godhead, which is amazing. And in lectures, Prabhupada said, if you follow this process, you will, he said, these were his words, just as you are seeing me face to face, you will see Krishna face to face. And you will dance with Krishna. Is that amazing? Is that amazing or is that amazing? So, that is the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. So, when Lord Chaitanya decided to be merciful, then how did he do it? It's just mercy. It's like nothing, nobody has to qualify. If you show up, you get it. If you participate, you get it. If you're willing to be used, you will be used. Now, most of the gurus in our movement, 50 years ago, were hippies in San Francisco, New York, the Himalayas, right? And if you were to bet your money on whether they could become gurus in the future, you probably wouldn't make a bet on it, because it wouldn't seem like it, right? So, if you want to understand Lord Chaitanya's mercy, the living proof of that mercy is the advanced devotees who accepted the mercy. And don't make the mistake of thinking they are special. That's the biggest mistake. I mean, we should think that our guru is special, senior devotees are special, but you're also special. What really is special is that they accepted the mercy. And the thing that is most special is the mercy. And that if you accept the mercy, you will also be special because the mercy is special. But don't think that they are special in a way that you can't be special. And how can we say this? And you can say, Prabhu, that's offensive. My guru is special. He must have been a devotee for 100 lifetimes. All right, that may be true, and he may be special. But even if you are not special, you can also become guru. Because the mercy is special. And that's what's important. And if you accept the mercy, then you'll be special. And what's the proof of that? Because anytime anybody tried to say to Prabhupada, you're special, you'd say, no, I'm not. I have no qualification. Prabhupada said, I have no qualification. It is all the mercy of my guru. What's the message? I don't need qualification. You don't need qualification. You need mercy. And all you have to do is learn how to accept the mercy. And you can do amazing things. Now, I had an amazing experience when I was in Nashik. 5 years ago, I ended up in Nashik. They invited me to come there. I was in Mumbai or something. And so, one day when I was there, there was a lecture by Srila Prabhupada. And in the lecture, Srila Prabhupada said, you will all someday have to become guru. And when Prabhupada said that, I looked at all the devotees' faces to confirm it went like this. You could see on their face, it went like this. It was like, he's not talking to me. That's not for me. That's for people like Radhanath Swami and Shivaram Swami and Niranjan. For them, these rare souls, brahmacharis all their lives, special yogis in their past, even yogis in this life. It's not for me. That statement went completely over everyone's head. Why? Because naturally, when we look at ourselves, we think, no way, that is an impossibility. There's no way I could become guru. Which is true, but that's only half of the equation. The no way I can become guru is the foundation for you becoming guru. But by the mercy of Mahaprabhu, I could. You know, Prabhupada told us to become gurus in 1969. How would you feel if you were sitting there? How would you feel in 1977 when your name was on the list? And you've been a devotee 6 years and you were 26 years old. How would you feel? Qualified? No. What is the mood or the mentality? It's good to have the mentality, I'm not qualified, but not to have the mentality that the mercy can't qualify me. That's the misunderstanding. That's not humility. that's underestimating the potency of Lord Chaitanya and your Guru. So that's an important point, because I know many devotees feel, not me, there's no way. It could be Guru, it could be this service, it could be that service. It's not about you. It's about the mercy. So that's how the Hare Krishna movement spread. Not by people who were qualified, but by people who knew they were not qualified. And that was their power. Not knowing they're not qualified in a negative way, but knowing they're not qualified in a positive way. And that if I'm going to succeed, the mercy will do something. And I want to tell you a story, and then we can have questions. This is such an interesting story about mercy. Many of you know that there was a devotee named Tripurari who later became Tripurari Swami, who was the #1 book distributor in ISKCON, and he was the person responsible for opening the floodgates of book distribution in the entire world, especially in America, but it went around the world. He was the main person. And practically anyone who was inspired in book distribution was connected to him directly or indirectly. So Prabhupada called him the incarnation of book distribution. Interesting, right? Like book distribution Shakti had descended. So I went out in Sankirtan with him once. And it was in San Diego, and San Diego is a Navy town. And the Navy gets paid every 2 weeks. So the day the Navy is paid is the best day to distribute books, because these Navy men are single and they have more. If they don't, they'll just spend the money on beer or whatever. And so Tripurari Swami said, let's go to the military base. How do you get on a military base unless you have some business on the military base? It's a military base. And so, hello, hi, I want to drive around. Oh, sure. So how do you get on? That he had such an intense desire to distribute books. It was almost like some devotees couldn't be around it. It was like, he was like an arrow. I mean, that's all he thought about. It was like very, very, and he was in kind of a, you know, a very focused, serious person. So it was like you could feel his Shakti, you know, this is, so I'm driving the car. So he goes, just drive up, I'll talk to the guard. So he drives up to the guard and he says, we have some books for your library. Guard says, okay. Within 3 seconds, we're in the gate. And I looked at that and I go, that's what happens when you have the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. It's just like the Navy base gates open for you. I mean, I was looking at that, it's going, Maharaj, you're the man, you know, like you got Shakti. And then one more story. When I was a young devotee, I was asked to take the responsibility of being temple president. And very, very difficult service for me. I was only, I just turned 20 when I had the service, and I'd been a devotee for 8 months. And it was a temple that was out of the way, only a few devotees, nobody visited. And the devotees in the temple were kind of, what do we say, rough around the edges, you know, not refined diamonds yet. And we had no money, and it was cold weather, and I had never seen snow in my life, and now I'm living in a city with snow, which I never would have chosen to do. That was just hard all around. And I didn't want to stay, but I didn't want to give up my duty, because we had been taught that we should follow our duty. So at some point I had to apply for some form of immigration, green card or whatever they have. This was in Canada. Because I couldn't stay, and they wanted me to be the temple president. And at that time, Americans were going to Canada to escape the draft, because if you were an American and you lived in Canada, they wouldn't draft you to Vietnam. So Americans were just piling out of young boys. And so there was no way that I could get immigration. That's what lawyers said. They said, you're not going to get it because everybody's asking for it, and you don't have really a good reason. And I said, that's good news, because I don't want to stay here. But this would be an honorable way, rather than just calling up and saying, I'm leaving. This would be an honorable way to leave. Sorry, Prabhus, I'd love to stay here, but I didn't get my green card. So I had all the papers, I did everything I was supposed to, and then I drove out of Canada, turned around, and drove back into the border. I gave them my papers, thinking, there is absolutely no way I'm going to get the papers, because I don't have any qualification. I'm a university dropout, I don't have much money, I hardly speak French, there's no reason for me, you know, Hare Krishna Temple president. And I swear, this is my memory, he came back in 3 minutes, and I thought, yeah, he looked at the papers and said, this guy's a joke. You know? He came back in 3 minutes, he goes, here's your paper, here's a stamp, welcome to Canada. I'm like, oh my God. So, at that point, I had a major shift, and I understood if you're an instrument and Krishna wants you somewhere, you don't need the proper paperwork. You'll just, you know, you'll get on the military base, you'll get the immigration, whatever. If you're willing to do the service in the realization that I'm not qualified, but I'm willing to be empowered by the potency, then you all can become gurus. Don't ever say, I can't. It's the potency, it's not you. The potency can do it if you're willing. Hare Krishna. So we have at least 3 more minutes, right? Or you want to check when prasadam's ready? Maybe they're late. No, not late, or maybe, yeah. Yes?
Thank you for your excellent program, which I found very interesting.
Yeah.
But the question I'm going to ask,
yes, yes.
It is not a loaded question.
Okay.
Is it still the fact that ISKCON's approach to influencing people and making friends with them is by calling them rascals and whatnot?
Is it still ISKCON's approach? From my experience, not so much, but it's very individual. Because we all have our natures, and some devotees are very gentle, and they feel that the gentleness is the best way to bring people in. And some devotees they're very uncompromising, and they feel that we should just say it like it is and let the cards fall where they fall. But I would say generally ISKCON today is a little more on the side of let people come at their own pace and spoon feed them. I hope it is. What's your experience?
My experience, the first time I came to this temple was in 1975, and I met Prabhupada in 1977, when he went to India for the last time. And actually it's been quite horrendous, you know, because I know the Buddha has taught these people, the scientists are terrible people. Okay, we are terrible people, and please, sir, how do you travel from America to India?
No, Prabhupada said that.
Don't use airplanes, because these are
right.
constructed by devils.
Yeah.
Okay? You should try swimming and walking.
No, this came up with Prabhupada. And one time the devotees said, well, these scientists and professors are proud, and Prabhupada said they deserve to be proud because they've created all these things. You know, so Prabhupada actually recognized, oh, they have intelligence, they've done good things. So Prabhupada said, but when they deny God's existence, that I can't tolerate. So maybe we put it all in one package, but Prabhupada, he definitely separated the package. He definitely said, yes, they deserve to be proud, and they've done many wonderful things, but that doesn't qualify them. Just because I collided in an airplane, now I can deny God. That was his personal.
I mean, if you are disdainful of scientists and so on, then you should not use scientific products. What are the scientific labs doing?
Yeah.
It reminds one of the ancient Greek philosopher called Hippocrates. I think you get the drift.
Yeah, hypocrite. Yeah. Anyway, that's my understanding. That Prabhupada, you know, in Bhagavatam, Prabhupada said, use your science to prove God's existence. So he appreciated that. But as Prabhupada said, we can't imitate. And it was interesting because when he told that man, you can't understand because you're a demon, the man said, you're right. So Prabhupada had that power. You see, the thing is, most people felt Prabhupada's love, And most people he was preaching to were the age of his son or grandson. So that combination was very powerful. So if he said something to make a point, which was not so savory, they also felt his love and affection. Sometimes when we preach, we're not feeling love and affection. We're trying to get one up on somebody to feel that I've defeated you. So there's a nice story. Trivikram Swami tells a story that he was with Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was preaching very boldly, and so many people had arguments, and Prabhupada was answering all the arguments. And so Trivikram Swami was that evening massaging Prabhupada, and he said, "Prabhupada, you're powerful. You smash them." And it's like, you're the best. And Prabhupada said, "I'm just humble servant." He wasn't in that mood, but for us as young devotees, we would get in that mood, like, let's smash them. Let's go out and smash them. So the goal of Krishna consciousness is not to smash people. It's more to love them. And Prabhupada loved the people he was smashing. That's for sure. He'd smash him and he'd go, "Give him prasadam." And then all small talk, Somebody wanted to say something? Okay. We're good? Time for prasadam? Okay. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premanandi. Hari Hari.